All right, welcome in. So, a lot of people are freaking out because they have seen a Brock Purdy quote that I have to admit is interesting. It implies that he's not sure if he's going to play in 2023 or not. So, this is another episode of Fact or Cap. Is this true or not? Cap means lie, for those of you who don't know. By the end of this video, we will have dug to the bottom of this and determined whether this is fact or cap. I look deep into this. I went back to the source because apparently nobody else has. And we do have an audio recording of what Brock Purdy said. And most importantly, we have context. So stay tuned for this because I'm going to go through the entire progression of the search. First of all, this is the article in question. This is where this entire rumor started. This is a Yahoo Sports article by Jory Epstein. And as you can see, funny enough, this is not even in the headline. The Brock Purdy isn't sure about playing in 2023. That, to me, if this was, truly huge news, you would think that it would make it into the headline of the story. So you search for not sure, you search for that quote, and it comes up like 6 graphs down, way down here after an embed. And this is the actual line. We can go to the actual screenshot of Brock Purdy talking. Here it is. This is the graph where people are grabbing the quote from. That remains an early step in recovery. Purdy's saying Friday he's, quote, not really sure, comma, honestly, whether he'll play in 2023 as he takes it, quote, one day at a time. In recent days, progress has come in the form of increased mobility. So as you can see here, this is just seems to be a passing comment. What would be a bombshell report for some reason is just a passing comment later in this article. Why is it passing comment? Well, we actually have some of the audio. Let's listen in to the actual quote from Brock Purdy. And not only the quote, but the context of the quote within the framework of the interview questions. Here it is.
What can you tell us about your regular season expectations and how important it is to fully heal?
Obviously, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm in a lot of communication. We have a great plan set out just with the Niners, all the training staff, and then the surgeon that I was with and the physical therapist that I'm with. So everyone's on the same page, and we're all working to get me back as soon as possible, but in the right manner. And so that's where we're at, just taking it one day at a time. So,
absolutely. Last question. Do you have a sense of if at some point this season you'll be able to play?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I think I just got to take it one day at a time, get healthy, start throwing again, things like that, and then just go from there. But it's all going to work out how it needs to.
What can you?
Okay, there's the quote. We heard it at the end. Yeah, he did actually say he's not really sure. Honestly, I think the exact quote. I could put this up on the screen. I have it here prepared for you. But you listen to it. Here's the question. Do you have a sense of if at some point this season you'll be able to play? Purdy, we're not really sure, honestly. I think I've just got to take it one day at a time, get healthy, start throwing again, things like that, and then just go from there. It's all going to work out how it needs to. That's from Yahoo Sports. But context is so key. You just listen to it. We'll play it again. It seems apparent, really apparent when you listen to it, especially when last question was tossed out there, that Purdy is simply being asked for a specific timeline on his injury. And his answer to being asked for a specific timeline on return to play for his injury is, we're not really sure, which is the truth. He thought that he was being asked about a specific, I would wager a lot of money on Brock Purdy thinking that he was being asked on a specific return to play date from his injury. And instead, obviously, the question was a little bit different. The question said, do you have a sense of if at some point this season you'll be able to play? He heard at some point this season, and he thought that he was talking about an exact point this season. Let's listen again, because I think that this context right here fills us in on a lot of what Brock Purdy was thinking that he was answering to.
It's about your regular season expectations.
To get me back as soon as possible, but in the right manner. And so that's where we're at, just taking it one day at a time. So.
Absolutely. Last question. Do you have a sense of if at some point this season you'll be able to play?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I think I just got to take it one day at a time, get healthy, start throwing again, things like that, and then just go from there. But it's all going to work out how it needs to.
What expectations and how important it is to fully?
So there you have it. There you have the last two questions of this interview with Yahoo Sports. And the very last one, mind you, the answer wasn't even printed high up in the article. So I think that the author probably had a similar idea as to the importance of the quote. It seemed a little bit more of a throwaway kind of situation there at the end of the interview. And Brock Purdy answered in a way that wasn't like any of his other interviews that he did for this Buffalo Wild Wings thing on Friday. If this were a major point, then Brock Purdy would have divulged it in more than one of the many car wash style interviews that he did on Friday. I say car wash, it's because Brock Purdy went from one outlet to another, including ours, The Athletic, to answer some of these questions. And if you further contextualize this, and I say the context is key, if you go to our article on The Athletic for more quotes and fuller quotes from Brock Purdy than just those two, so you'll see that right here, you will see this. This is the main quote on The Athletic. This is quote from Brock Purdy. Just working on some simple things like the range of motion and slowly integrating things to get the strength back, he said. But for the most part, everything is going as planned. And every week I feel like I'm getting better. Once again, everything is going as planned. You can read the rest of this article up on The Athletic right here. Here, I'll have the actual screenshot of the whole thing for you right there. I'll copy and paste this. I'll put it in the chat section. You could read all of Purdy's words. And he's talking about everything going as planned. Obviously, they don't have an exact timeline yet. That's information that we already knew. He's not going to start throwing until early June. That's the plan. At that point, they're going to have a prognosis. So if Purdy thought that this was the case, if it was apparent to him in that Yahoo Sports interview that the question was about his exact return timeline, which I think any reasonable interviewee would assume, then of course he's going to say he's not sure, because nobody's sure. We've known that ever since this surgery happened. We've known that the 3-month mark, early June, would be when he would potentially start throwing and when we'd have a firmer prognosis. So you look at this, I put context is key, because you look at this in full context, and Purdy's talking 99% of the time everywhere else about everything going as planned. And then there's one, what I think is an obvious misunderstanding of a question where he's referring to what he thinks is a question about exact return date instead of a general return in 2023. And people are choosing to take that one little blip, the outlier. Occam's razor applies again here. And that is the simplest explanation is the one that is almost always true. Always refer to the simplest explanation, not a conspiracy theory. So, factor cap. Brock Purdy, not sure about playing in 2023. Which is it? Is it true? Is it not? Well, our factor cap test has been applied, and here is our answer.
A-P